to your question about the mom who's really busy and what she should do, there are a lot of options out there to cater to a lot of different people's needs and circumstances. So it kind of depends on, there's sort of like a set of questions that a parent needs to ask to narrow down the options, which is like, how much money am I willing to spend? Am I willing to spend money on my kid's education? Based on that question, like, what are the resources actually available to me in my state? Because Arizona gets all the press, but there are a lot of other states that have grant programs and stuff too that you can also look into. Do I want to be the primary educator of my kid, or do I need to send them to another school? Like, am I working full time, and do I need someone who can be in charge of educating my kid and also can be responsible? Like, do I need them, like, am I working from home? Can I have my kid in an online school at home, or do they have to be in person somewhere? And I think there's a lot of fundamental questions that people need to ask too about, like, well, we're a 2-income home and we don't really want to give that up, but like we could for a few years, and like maybe our kids' education is more important than getting a new Volvo. Like, there's really hard questions that people need to ask themselves too when they look at what the school system is doing and whether or not that is acceptable to them. But from a practical standpoint, like, once you kind of have a sense of what those specifications are that a school or an education option needs to meet, then you can start doing research and see what's available to you in your location. Are there in-person schools if you need your kid to go somewhere? Are there online schools that you can sign your kid up for if you're home all day and having them online is an option? There are some really, really cool schools that people are building that, and I'm really excited for, like, in 5 years when we have a whole like binder full of case studies that we can throw at people where it's like, look at all of these kids who are going through these programs, they're super successful. Like this, because I think that's a huge part of what's going to change the tide too, is like there's a set of early adopters who are just, they know this is going to work for their kids, they're hungry for it, they're not afraid to be the rebels.
Yeah.
But then there's a much larger cohort of people who want a safe option for their kids too, because this stuff is really scary. So once those case studies start to emerge, I think there's going to be a much bigger second wave of people that exit the system, and that's like really when the big shifts are going to happen. But there's tons of options like that for parents who are really busy, and there's also tons of options online for, like, if you don't have the monetary resources to put your kid in a school and you don't feel qualified to teach your kid at home, you really, like, if you know what a kid is, like, technically, like, needs to know in order to be meeting the standards of your state to be successfully completing an education, like, they're not breaking the law because they're, like, learning the things they're supposed to. Like, as long as you know that, you don't have to be a subject matter expert in anything, because the internet has the best teachers in every subject your kid could possibly be curious about for free at your fingertips, a search away. And your kid can go learn from all of those people, and all you have to be is the facilitator who's helping them figure out how to find resources, and then making sure they're constructively using them, and then asking follow-up questions and figuring out what they need to learn next. Like, not knowing everything is not, it's a feature, it's not a bug for parents. Like, your kids are watching you figure it out, and they're learning just by nature of watching you figure it out way more than they ever would have learned in school, because they're learning how to learn, which school doesn't really teach you, but you have to know how to do to be successful in the adult world ever at all.